The rain poured down like a waterfall, the salty sea wind cutting into my face like a knife. I stood by the cliff of Chingsha Mountain, with a bottomless abyss behind me and blinding headlights in front. Lu Jingtu's Rolls-Royce was parked 10 meters away, its tires leaving black skid marks from his desperate attempt to save the white moonlight in his heart. Gun. Jingtu, save me, I'm afraid of water. Ji Yuan's weak cries pierced through the rain. She was dangling from the broken railing, with raging waves beneath her feet. As for me, I was pinned down by two deranged fans, my hands locked behind my back, a sharp fruit knife pressed against my neck. Blood trickled down my collarbone to my chest, chilling me to the bone. Lu Jingshu. I screamed his name with a hoarse voice. He was my husband, the man who had secretly married me 3 years ago, never giving me a public status in the media. Save me, please. Lu Jingshu stepped out of the car. He was wearing a custom-made black suit, as cold as the unmelted snow on a high mountain peak. His deep eyes swept over my bleeding neck, then finally settled on Ji Yuan's swaying figure. Shenji, you're tough. A small wound like this won't kill you. His voice was icy, devoid of any warmth, even carrying a hint of disgust. Gun is afraid of water. If she falls in, she'll die. I let out a self-mocking laugh, tears mixing with the rain, bitter enough to make me nauseous. Tough, Lu Jingshu, have you forgotten that in my belly, there's still, shut up, he irritably cut me off, as if my mention of that child was an insult to Gun. Don't use children to vie for favor at a time like this. Shenji, you disgust me. He didn't even turn to look at me again, taking long, hurried strides toward Gun, extending the hands that had once lingered around my waist to gently embrace that deceitful woman. At that very moment, the frenzied fans behind suddenly let out a mad scream. Since President Lu doesn't want you anymore, then you should just die. Go suffer with our Gun. A tremendous force pushed from behind. I was like a kite with its string cut, plummeting straight down into that pitch-black abyss. The moment the feeling of weightlessness hit me, I saw Lu Jingtu suddenly turn around, and for the first time, an expression called terror appeared on that cold, arrogant face. He let go of Gun and rushed toward the edge of the cliff, his fingertips almost brushing the corner of my clothes. Shenji, his scream was instantly swallowed by the sound of crashing waves. The icy seawater rushed into my nose and mouth from all directions, my lungs burning as if on fire. In the last moment before my consciousness faded, I touched my still flat stomach. My dear child, I'm sorry, this world is too cold. I'll take you to a warmer place. 3 months later at Moon Viewing Pavilion, the most exclusive private club in the capital, Lu Jingshu sat in the host's seat, holding an empty wine glass in his hand. President Lu, is there still no news about Shenji? President Zhu beside him cautiously spoke up. We've already dredged the sea 3 times. I'm afraid. Shut up. Lu Jingshu's voice was hoarse, his eyes filled with red streaks. Over the past 3 months, he has refused all notifications, moving through life like a walking corpse. Gun carefully handed him a cup of hangover tea. Jingtu, don't be sad anymore. If Kai Kai knew you were like this, she wouldn't rest easy either. Lu Jingtu suddenly pushed her hand away, his eyes filled with a murderous glare. Who allowed you to call her Kai Kai? Get out. Ji Yuan's face turned pale, biting her lip in grievance as she left the private room. At that moment, Assistant Zhu rushed in a panic. President Lu, something big has happened. The mysterious S Capital Company just announced that they want to acquire the entire film longevity that we've been preparing for 3 years. And what? Lu Jingtu coldly raised his eyes. And the founder of S Capital, CEO Su, who has never made a public appearance, is currently in the interview room next door and says she wants to personally select the male lead. She specifically requested that CEO Lu come over for an audition. Lu Jingtu let out a cold laugh, a flicker of disdain flashing in his eyes. In the circles of Beijing, no one had ever dared to tell him to go for an audition. He pushed open the heavy mahogany door beside him. Inside the unusually dim room, only a one-way mirror reflected a cold light. Behind the mirror sat a woman, with the interplay of light and shadow. Only a soft curve could be seen, along with a slender, jade-white hand gently swirling a glass of red wine. On that hand, a massive ruby ring was worn. The very gift for their third wedding anniversary that Shunji had most desired before her disappearance. Lu Jingxiu's pupils contracted violently, his breath nearly halting in that instant. Who exactly are you? He stared intently at the mirror. From behind the mirror came a soft, elegant, and composed laugh, carrying a pressure that seemed to hold life and death in its grasp. The voice was clear and pleasant to the ear, yet it exuded a bone-chilling coldness. Mr. Liu, the audition theme is deep love, unfortunately. The look in your eyes as you stepped through the door was only brutality and panic. The woman slowly turned around, half of her face hidden in the shadows, her red lips slightly parting. Mr. Liu, your acting is terrible. In this lifetime, you are not worthy of playing a role of deep love, let alone being the male lead in my film. Lu Jingtu charged straight toward that mirror, his fist slamming hard against the glass. Shunji, is it you? Come out here and face me. Security, please escort this clumsy actor Mr. Liu out. The large door was pushed open, and several black-clad bodyguards forcibly restrained the out-of-control Lu Jingxiu. I sat behind the mirror, watching that once high and mighty young master being dragged away like a madman. I gently stroked my now flat stomach, my gaze sharp as a knife. Lu Jingxiu, this is only the beginning. The one who fell into the abyss was Shunji, but the one who has returned now is your creditor. Lu Jingxiu has gone mad, he screamed, completely losing his composure in front of the interview room door, his fists pounding against the bulletproof glass with heavy, dull thuds, his knuckles quickly bleeding. But no matter how frenzied he became, the one-way mirror remained as silent as death, with only the cold uniforms of the security guards blocking him from the circle of power. President Liu, please have some self-respect. Assistant Ju, drenched in sweat, pulled him back. President Su has already left through the back door. This is S Capital's territory. Making a scene will make it difficult to explain to Lu Corporation's shareholders. Lu Jingxiu suddenly turned around, his usually cold and self-controlled eyes now filled with red blood vessels, like a dying beast. Did you just hear that? That voice, it's Shunji. She's not dead, she's not dead. President Liu, your wife fell from a 100-meter-high cliff. The rescue team has been searching for 3 months. Assistant Ju's voice grew softer, tinged with a hint of pity. That President Su, perhaps it's just a similar voice. Or maybe she deliberately underwent plastic surgery to look like that to take revenge on your rival. Lu Jingxiu leaned against the wall as if exhausted, his chest heaving violently. That's right, Shunji was so weak she couldn't even lift heavy objects. How could she, in just 3 short months, transform herself and become a top tycoon capable of shaking the capital market? But he didn't believe it. That cold, medicinal scent, that contemptuous tone, no one but Shunji could imitate it so bone-chillingly. At this moment, I am sitting on the genuine leather swivel chair in the old mansion of the Su family, letting my personal doctor treat the faint scar on my neck. That is the medal left behind before falling into the sea. Miss, Lu Jingtu has returned, but he has bought all the surveillance cameras from that interview room and is now hiring a top-tier technical team to compare voice prints. My assistant and chief advisor, Shun Shu, handed me a warm cup of oat milk. He is already suspicious. Let him investigate. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, which had become sharper than before, even carrying a hint of aggression, and curled my lips into a cruel smile. The result of his investigation will only confirm that he himself killed Shunji. I want him to spend every second of these 3 months reaffirming his own guilt. I am no longer the Shunji of the past, the one who would curl up and fall asleep on the sofa waiting for you to come home for dinner. 3 months ago, I was rescued from the cold sea waters by the Su family's rescue vessel. The Su family, a top-tier financial group that has remained hidden from the world for many years, is my true identity. For Lu Jingxiu, I was willing to sever ties with my family, live incognito as his hidden wife, and even willingly become a stand-in for GUWN to help her audition and take the fall. The result was that he personally pushed me into hell. Has there been any movement from Jiu Wan's side? I asked coldly. She believes Lu Jingxiu's recent mood swings are due to missing her too much, and she is now intensely preparing for the Golden Orange Awards. She has bribed the judges, hoping to win the Best Actress award this time, and then use the opportunity to pressure Lu Jingxiu into making their relationship public. A flicker of disgust passed through Shunshu's eyes. Moreover, today she went to the bridal shop to try on the Athena's tear. Athena's tear, I sneered coldly. That was the globally unique wedding dress personally sketched by Lu Jingshu 3 years ago, promised to be gifted to me on our 3rd wedding anniversary. Because I love stars, he had 9,999 top grade crushed diamonds inlaid on the skirt's hem. Now, he wants to take my wedding dress and give it to the person who pushed me into the abyss. If she wants to wear it, then let her wear it. I stood up, the red silk robe cascading to the floor. Shunshu, go tell that wedding dress shop. I'll pay 10 times the price to buy the exclusive genuine copyright of that dress. As for the dress in Ji Yuan's hands, I paused, my gaze darkening. I'll make it the cheapest joke in the world on the red carpet. 3 days later, the Golden Bough Awards ceremony. This is the biggest annual event in the entertainment industry. Both sides of the red carpet are packed with camera lenses. The cheers of fans almost strong enough to blow the roof off as the award presenter, Lu Jingtu, walked down the red carpet with a gloomy expression and took a seat in the front row. His eyes kept darting around, as if searching for the figure that had been missing for 3 months. Jingtu, look at me. Guan hooked her arm through his, smiling brightly and radiantly. She wore a dazzling wedding dress named Athena's tear, its skirt shimmering with tiny, sparkling lights under the illumination, like a galaxy descending to the mortal world. The media couldn't stop exclaiming, "Oh my, is this the wedding dress personally designed by President Lu? Guan truly is the future Mrs. Lu." Guan reveled in the feeling of all eyes on her, even deliberately flaunting the enormous diamond ring on her finger in front of the cameras. However, just as the host announced the list of nominees for Best Actress, the hall doors were forcefully pushed open. The originally melodious background music suddenly stopped, replaced by a heavy metal drum segment, its rhythm intense and full of pressure. A figure in deep purple appeared at the end of the red carpet. I had changed into the real Athena's tear dress. No, it should be said, that was the genuine original. The cut of each diamond was terrifyingly precise. And under the peak stage lighting, my entire body seemed enveloped in an inviolable, sacred aura. The entire hall fell silent, the reporters froze, the fans forgot to scream, and no one even noticed the host's microphone falling to the ground, emitting a piercing noise. Because I was wearing a dress identical to Ji Yuan's, yet effortlessly overshadowed her in terms of presence, turning her into a mere foot-washing maid on the red carpet. Is that actress Shen? No, she is CEO Su of S Capital I. Walked on slender high heels, each step as if treading on Lu Jingshu's heart. I walked to the front of the award podium, not even glancing at Guan, but directly fixed my gaze on the man who had turned as stiff as a stone statue in the front row. "Mr. Lu, long time no see." I spoke into the microphone, my voice cold and calm. Lu Jingshu abruptly stood up, his movement so forceful that it knocked over the tea table in front of him. He stared intently at my face, his eyes in that instant turning bloodshot, his lips trembling but unable to utter a single sound. "Jingtu, she's a fake, she's had plastic surgery." Guan rushed over frantically, pointing at my dress and shouting, "This is the one he gave me, she's just a copycat." I tilted my head gently, looking down at her from above, my gaze as if observing an ant. "Miss Gu, perhaps you don't know, just an hour ago, the design copyright of this wedding dress was officially transferred to the Su family. As for the one you're wearing, because it was copied without permission." I smiled, a radiant and graceful smile. "You have seriously violated intellectual property rights. Judicial police and brand representatives are currently waiting for you backstage." As soon as the words were spoken, several uniformed judicial police officers and the executive director of the wedding dress brand pushed the door open and entered. Guan completely collapsed on the floor, the Athena's tear dress she had once been so proud of, under the light of the original, suddenly turned dull in color, with crude stitching, truly becoming a piece of cheap fabric. As I passed by Lu Jingshu, he raised his hand intending to grab my sleeve. I immediately turned around and slapped him fiercely, shattering all his hopes in front of the crowd. "Mr. Lu, don't touch it, this dress, you can't afford to compensate for." That slap, in the quiet auditorium of the award ceremony, even produced a faint echo. Lu Jingshu was slapped, his face turned to the side, and 5 finger marks quickly appeared on his originally cold and arrogant face, but he wasn't angry. Instead, it was as if he had been struck by some kind of obsession. Suddenly turning his head back, in those eyes that had been lifeless, a nearly frenzied light suddenly ignited. "Shinji, it's you, it really is you." He trembled as he reached out, wanting to touch my cheek, his voice as humble as a beggar's. "You're not dead, you came back to find me, right? I knew it, that sea couldn't take you away." I recoiled in disgust, taking a step back. AK immediately stepped in front of me, his cold suit blocking the nauseating warmth of his body. "Mr. Liu, it seems 3 months of delusion have left you hearing voices." I pulled a scented silk handkerchief from my pocket and meticulously wiped the hand that had just slapped him. "Shun Kai was fed to the fish 3 months ago, and you watched coldly. The person standing before you now is the CEO of the Su Group, Su Hua." I casually tossed the handkerchief into the trash, as if discarding an unrecyclable piece of garbage. By then, the judicial police from backstage had approached Guwn, who was sitting on the floor. The knockoff wedding dress she wore, made of poor quality fabric, had torn along a seam from her struggling, revealing the cheap lining inside. She screamed like a madwoman, "Jing-tu, save me, that's that lowly Shinkai. She had plastic surgery and came back for revenge. Arrest her now." Lu Jingtu didn't even bother to glance at her, his world seemed to have only me left, the woman he once discarded like trash, now unattainably proud. "President Su, the brand side demands that the counterfeit product on Miss Gu be publicly cut off in front of the media, to set an example," AK softly reported in my ear, his voice not loud but just enough for all the media to hear clearly. "Cut." I uttered a single word, cold as an executioner. "No, you can't treat me like this. I'm a Miss Photogenic candidate, Jingtu." Guwn frantically crawled toward Lu Jingtu. Grabbing his pant leg, Lu Jingshu finally looked down at her, but his gaze was as if he were looking at a pile of rotting flesh. He kicked her away, his voice bone-chillingly cold. "It's because of you that Shunji fell, Guwn. You'd better pray that Shunji is truly dead, otherwise, I'll show you what it means to live a fate worse than death." He turned to look at me, his eyes full of flattery. "See, men are just like that once, for this white moonlight." He pushed me to my death. Now, discovering I hold greater power, he can immediately trample his true love into the mud. Under the stage lights, the brand executive of the wedding dress publicly cut the dress off Guwn. The Athena's tear dress, once a symbol of Mrs. Lu's status, became a chaotic mess amid the crowd's mocking laughter and the continuous flash of cameras. Guwn, covering herself, was dragged away in disarray by the police, while I elegantly stepped over the scattered white fabric fragments and walked toward the center of the award podium. "Tonight, I am here to announce something." I held the microphone, looking down at the celebrities who once looked down on me, mocked me as the hidden copy from the stage. "The Su Group will officially launch a hostile takeover of the Lu Group. Mr. Lu Jingtu, are the shares in your hands ready to become scrap paper?" The entire hall erupted in commotion. This was no longer just a personal grudge, but an open declaration of war in the capital market. Lu Jingtu stood frozen in place, then he suddenly laughed, laughing until his eyes turned red. "As long as it's something you want, I'll give it to you, Shinji, as long as you're willing to see me. What does it matter if I give you the Lu Group?" "Mr. Liu, you're mistaken." I looked down at him from above. "I don't need you to give it to me. What I want is to personally strip you of everything, leaving you with no place to stand in this capital." After the award ceremony, I stepped out of the grand hall, the cold wind outside billowing through my purple dress. Lu Jingxiu, ignoring the guard's attempts to stop him, tried to rush to my car. He blocked the Rolls-Royce, spreading his arms wide, the rain quickly soaking his shirt, revealing his gaunt figure. "Shinji, give me a chance to explain." That day, I thought those two fanatics wouldn't actually dare to do anything. "I thought you knew how to swim." He pounded on the car window, his voice growing even more desolate in the night. I rolled down the window, revealing only a pair of cold eyes. "Lu Jingtu, back then at the cliffside, I also begged you to give me a chance." I looked at him, enunciating each word clearly. "You said I had a tough fate, that I wouldn't die. Now, Su Hua's fate is even tougher, and as for your fate, I don't want it anymore." I want your dignity, along with Shinji, to go to hell. I rolled up the car window and ordered AK, drive, ram straight into him. If he doesn't move, consider it collecting. His corpse, the tires screeched, accelerating madly. Lu Jingtu stared at me until the bumper was about to hit his knees. Then, driven by the instinct to survive, he staggered aside. I watched the pathetic man kneeling in the rain through the rearview mirror, feeling not a single ripple in my heart. Lu Jingshu, this is just the first slap on the red carpet. Next, I'll take you to see just how many seeds of evil you and GUWN sowed in that bridal chamber. Lu Jingshu, like a stray dog drenched by the rain, tirelessly drove his car, tailing my Rolls-Royce all the way to the hillside bridal house, Cloud Peak Flower Pavilion. This was once the home I, as Shinji, meticulously tended to for 3 years. The color of every throw pillow, the placement of every potted plant, all once bore witness to how I doted on him. But now, pushing open the heavy, intricately carved door, what greeted him was no longer the warm yellow lights and steaming hot meals, but a chilling, stark white space. All the furniture was draped in white cloth, looking like silent coffins. In the center of the living room, where our never-publicized wedding photo once hung, was now replaced by a large black and white funeral portrait. In the photo, I smiled gently but soullessly. Below the picture, a black urn is neatly placed. Su Hua, what are you doing this for? Lu Jingtu rushed into the house, his eyes stinging at the sight of white everywhere. He frantically tore the white cloth off the sofa. Get rid of all this unlucky stuff right now. You're clearly still alive. Why are you setting up all these things? I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorway, coldly watching him lose control. Mr. Lu, Shinkai has already been cremated. That is her ashes. Shouldn't you come to pay your respects? She's not dead. You are her. Lu Jingtu rushed up to me, his hands gripping my shoulders so tightly it felt like he wanted to crush my shoulder blades. Shinkai, stop playing this game. I admit I was a scoundrel before. I give up. Okay, you want Lu Corporation. I'll sign it over tomorrow. Just tear off this disguise. Come back to being my Shinkai. After 3 years of being a fool, drugged by you with sedative soup, and now I can't even keep my own child. I forcefully shook off his hand, my gaze as sharp as a poisoned blade. Lu Jingshu's movements froze, his face instantly turning as pale as paper. What are you talking about? What sedative soup? Shinshu, bring her up, I coldly commanded. A moment later, Mrs. Liu, who had served in this house for 3 years, was brought in. She trembled all over, clutching a transparent sealed bag in her hand, containing a few unused white pills. Mr. Liu, the imported bird's nest jar you personally handed to me always contained the chronic abortion drug that Miss GUWN gave me. Mrs. Liu knelt on the ground, weeping. She said it was a tonic for the madam, and told me to supervise the madam's daily intake. She said if I didn't comply, she wouldn't let my son out of prison. With a bang, Lu Jingru felt as if struck by lightning, staggering and crashing into the incense table behind him. The pitch-black urn shook and fell to the ground, shattering into pieces with a loud crash. White powder, actually just flour, scattered all over the floor, landing on Lu Jingru's expensive leather shoes. No, it can't be. WN said it was a calming and cheat-tonifying medicine bought from abroad. She said Kai wasn't sleeping well. Lu Jingru muttered in a daze, lowering his head to look at the pile of white powder at his feet, as if seeing the shattered soul of Shinkai. She says anything, and you believe it, because in your eyes, Shinkai is just a shadow of GUWN. How could the life or death of a shadow compare to the sleep of the master? I stepped in front of him, the tip of my shoe grinding against the shattered porcelain fragments on the ground, producing a grating, screeching sound. Lu Jingshu, do you think you only let go at the edge of the cliff? No, for the past 3 years. You've been killing her with your own hands every single day. You personally fed her the poison that killed your own child, and you personally pushed her into the abyss of despair. I pulled a thick stack of documents from my pocket. These were Ji Wan's private chat logs and transfer records with Liu Ma, and even the 2 murderers from the past 3 years. Take a look. The white moonlight you've sworn to protect is actually the filthiest mud in the world. She didn't just want Shinkai's life. She wanted to shatter her reputation as well. Lu Jingshuan trembled as he picked up the documents, each page like a resounding slap. striking directly at his arrogant self-righteousness. Ah! Lu Jingshuan suddenly let out a cry like a trapped beast. He abruptly turned around, facing the expensive oil painting on the wall that Guan had personally chosen, and wildly swung his fists until his knuckles were completely shattered, fresh blood splattering onto the white canvas, a horrifying scene. This is the truth, Lu Jingshuan. I walked over to the chaotic mess before me, bent down to pick up a shard of the shattered urn, and pressed it against his bleeding throat. Does it hurt? Do you regret it? But the suffering Shenji endured was 10,000 times worse than this. I leaned close to his ear, my tone gentle yet cruel. Guan is in prison now, but that is only the judgment of the law. As for you, Lu Jingshuan, I will make you witness with your own eyes how you personally destroyed the only light in your life. Don't go, Kai, I beg you. Lu Jingtu completely ignored the sharp blade at his throat, kneeling humbly on the broken porcelain shards, wanting to cling to my leg. Kill me. Please kill me to atone for my sins. Killing you would be too easy. I want you to live. To live in this house full of Shun Kai's vengeful spirits, every dream for the rest of your life haunted by her face as she fell into the sea. I pushed him away and walked out of the villa without looking back. Behind me echoed Lu Jingtu's desperate, heart-wrenching sobs, reverberating through the vast, gloomy villa outside. The rain had stopped, but I knew that the rest of Lu Jingshu's life would forever be submerged in this rain, with no more clear days to come. And the next step I would take would be to completely change the ownership of the Lu family empire he was so proud of. Lu Jingshu thought that the bankruptcy of the Shun Group was just a minor episode following his failure in love. He believed that as long as his hands could still manipulate the stock market and write that top-tier algorithm, the Lu family would never collapse. Unfortunately, he had forgotten that behind all his so-called business miracles, there was always the shadow of the Su family quietly supporting him. Now that shadow had withdrawn, only to turn around and stab him in the back. The meeting room on the top floor of the Imperial Financial Center was so tense that you could hear a pin drop. All the shareholders of the Lu Corporation were present, their faces grim, with glaring red numbers flashing on the tablets in their hands. Lu Corporation's stock had hit the limit down within just 3 hours of the market opening. CEO Lu S. Capital has completed a hostile takeover of 35% of the shares. A white-haired director slammed the table and stood up, his voice trembling. Who on earth have you offended? Not only has the other party cut off all our overseas supply chains, but they've also coordinated with 4 banks to demand repayment simultaneously. Lu Jingshu sat in the chairman's seat, his once cold and noble face now pale and almost translucent. His injured right hand was wrapped in thick bandages, a wound he had inflicted on himself in the bridal chamber, the blood not yet dry, faintly exuding a sense of withering decay. I will handle it. His voice was hoarse, but his gaze was empty, fixed on the large door. Solve it. How are you going to solve it? The director roared. The only thing that can save Lu Corporation now is securing the renewal contract for Deep Blue Chip. But S Capital has already outright bought the intellectual property rights. At that moment, the sensor door of the meeting room slid open silently. I was wearing a high-end ice blue office suit, the red-soled high heels on my feet tapping rhythmically and crisply on the expensive marble floor. A Ku followed behind me, holding a thick stack of legal documents, his gaze as cold as a blade. Mr. Lu, I heard you're looking for the person in charge of Deep Blue Chip. I walked up to Lu Jingshu, looking down at him from above. Lu Jingtu sprang to his feet, his sudden movement knocking over the coffee cup in front of him, the dark brown liquid soaking his expensive suit. He stared at me, a trace of almost desperate hope flickering in the depths of his eyes. Shenji, no. President Su, you finally agreed to see me. I'm not here to see you. I'm here to inform you. I tossed a share transfer agreement onto the table. Since the Lu Group has failed to repay the $2 billion loan from S Capital on time, according to the confrontation agreement, the management rights of the Lu Group, from this moment on, officially belong to me. What? Impossible. The shareholders erupted in chaos. Nothing is impossible. AK let out a cold laugh and turned on the projector. Over the past 3 years, in order to clear Miss Ji Wan's name and purchase resources, Mr. Lu Jingtu has embezzled $9 billion from the company's public funds. These account records have been fully verified by President Su and handed over to the Economic Investigation Authorities. Lu Jingshu seemed to have all the bones in his spine pulled out in an instant. Collapsing miserably onto the chair, he stared at the financial reports filled with red numbers projected on the screen, the evidence of the crimes he had committed while indulging GUWN, which had now become the noose tightening around his neck. Lu Jingshu, for a murderer, you have squandered the entire ancestral legacy. I walked up to him, leaned down, and whispered in his ear, now, your board wants to remove you, your creditors want to sue you, what qualifications do you even have left? Shenji, Lu Jingshu even trembled as he extended his injured hand toward the crowd, trying to touch the tip of my finger. If I give you my life, can you not look at me with such eyes? Your life. I felt as if I had heard some kind of joke, forcefully pushing his hand away with such strength that he fell heavily to the ground. Your life isn't even worth a single strand of Shenji's hair, Lu Jingshu. I don't just want to take the Lu Corporation, I also want you, as the bankruptcy liquidator, to personally sign the document that shuts it down. I stood up and declared to all the shareholders, from today onward, Lu Corporation will be renamed Kai Yuan. All senior executives related to Lu Jingshu are dismissed and will never be rehired. As for Mr. Lu, I looked toward the former crown prince lying disheveled on the ground. As interest for embezzling company funds, all real estate and vehicles under your name, including the suit you're wearing, will be confiscated. Now, please leave my company. President Su, what if he refuses to leave? AK asked sarcastically, then call security. After all, for a thief who embezzles company funds, we don't need to show any courtesy. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Lu Jingtu was dragged out of the meeting room by two security guards like a dead dog. As he passed by me, he kept muttering sorry, his voice shattered like sand blown away by the wind. I stood before the office glass door, looking down at the bustling traffic below. The sign of the Lu Group was being dismantled by workers. GUWAN destroyed my body, Lu Jingtu destroyed my heart, and now, I will destroy everything they rely on to survive. This is just revenge with money. Next, I will take GUWN to see just how cold the prison walls really are. The visitation room of the capital's women's prison was filled with the scent of stale dampness and cheap disinfectant. GUWN sat behind the iron bars, her once lustrous long hair, which had cost a fortune to maintain, now cut into a jagged, ear-length bob, dull and dry as straw. She wore a baggy prison uniform, her once meticulously groomed face now distorted with fear and rage. As I walked in on slender high heels, draped in a striking crimson high-end coat, appearing behind the transparent glass, GUWN suddenly lunged forward, her nails scraping against the glass with a piercing screech. Shenji, you despicable bitch, it was you who framed me, you bribed Liu Ma, you forged the transfer receipts, she screamed hysterically, her eyes blazing with crimson hatred. Where is Jingtu? Why hasn't Jingtu come to see me? He promised he would save me. I gently sat down, picked up the receiver, and curled the corner of my mouth into a cruel smile. GUWN, stop screaming. Lu Jingtu can't even save himself now. He's busy signing the bankruptcy liquidation papers, and even the suit on his back has been repossessed by me. Do you think a stray dog about to starve has anything left to save you with? GUWN froze, then shook her head frantically. Impossible. He's the crown prince of the Lu Group. He loves you so much. No. He loves me so much. He'd rather let you die than fail to save me. Loves you. I let out a soft, icy laugh. He loves the pure, pristine moon he imagined, but when he heard the recording of you bribing a fan to push me into the sea, when he saw the surveillance footage of you personally drugging that bird's nest soup, GUWN, guess what he's thinking now? I pressed a photo against the glass. It showed Lu Jingtu's hand in the bridal suite, frantically pounding GUWN's picture until the blood and flesh were blurred. He wished he could strangle her with his own hands, to get a reduced sentence. He even voluntarily provided all the evidence of how she bullied the newcomer back then, forcing that girl to jump off the building. GUWN, initially you were only guilty of intentional injury, but now, it's incitement to suicide and premeditated murder. For the rest of your life, just wait to die in this tiny patch of land. No, GUWN let out a desperate scream, her whole body going limp as she collapsed into the chair. He was the one who indulged me. It was Lu Jingshu who gave me support. Why am I the only one going to prison? Don't rush, he's in hell too. I put down the receiver, stood up, and looked down at her from above. The reputation of being the best actress that you value the most has now become the biggest joke in the entertainment industry. All your works have been taken down across the entire internet, and your name has become synonymous with bullying and cruelty. GUWN, I want you to live, to watch me stand at the peak you can never reach, while you don't even have the right to be the mud beneath my feet. As I stepped out of the prison gate, the sunlight was slightly blinding. Outside the gate, an old taxi was parked by the roadside. Lu Jingshu wore a faded shirt from too many washes, his right hand bandaged, his beard sparse, his whole person haggard as if he had aged 10 years. He had been waiting at the door for a long time. Seeing me step out, he staggered forward. Kai, he opened his mouth, his voice hoarse and barely human. WN, has she confessed yet? Mr. Lu, please call me Su Zong. I sidestepped past him, my expression cold. Whether she confesses or not no longer matters. The evidence is clear, and you, Mr. Lu, I hear you're living in a basement now. How does the environment there compare to Yunding Huating? Lu Jingshu closed his eyes in pain, his body trembling slightly. It's retribution. Kai, I've already merged all my remaining shares into Kai Yuan. I don't need money. I only beg you for one thing. Let me stay in the capital. Let me see you. See me. I stopped walking, turned to look at him, my eyes filled with sarcasm. See me with another man, or see me step by step erase everything about you. Lu Jingtu, your deep, self-tormenting affection only makes me feel disgusted. President Su, the screen test for the young actor Lin Yu is scheduled for 3 in the afternoon. AK arrived just in time, considerately opening the door of the Rolls-Royce for me, his gaze sweeping over Lu Jingtu with contempt. We're going to be late. I nodded and got into the car. Lu Jingtu gripped the edge of the car window tightly, his knuckles turning pale from the force. Kai, as long as you're not married, I'll wait forever, until the day I die. Then you just wait. I rolled down the window, my tone calm and unruffled. But Mr. Lu, don't wait too long, because in my world, there has long been no place for you. The car started, covering Lu Jingtu in a cloud of dust. In the rearview mirror, he grew smaller and smaller until he became a black dot. The destruction of GUWN was the collapse of body and honor, while the destruction of Lu Jingtu was an endless, unceasing spiritual torment in this world. The cruelest revenge is not to make him die, but to let him soberly see how the woman who once regarded him as a god easily trampled him underfoot, then turned and rushed toward the sea of stars without looking back. The first snow of the season in the capital fell without any warning, the fine white flakes blanketing the cold asphalt roads of the CBD. I had just finished a meeting about a cross-border acquisition and, accompanied by AK, stepped into the elevator. This year, Kai VN Media, part of the Su Group financial conglomerate, had monopolized nearly 70% of the domestic film resources. While I officially graced the cover of the Times magazine as the Person of the Year, President Su, Lu Jingtu has been standing downstairs for 3 hours. AK held the elevator door open, his brow slightly furrowed. Security has tried to chase him away several times, but he refuses to leave. He said, "Today is your wedding anniversary, and he wants to personally give you a gift." I looked at my reflection on the elevator wall, a black blue velvet dress, eyes that had long shed the insecurity and melancholy of Shunji's days, now filled with a cold, decisive, and ruthless determination. Anniversary, I sneered. It's Shunji's death anniversary. Just let him stand there. The heavier the snow falls, the better it will sober him up. The elevator went straight down to the basement, as the Rolls-Royce's headlights tore through the darkness of the underground parking lot. A gaunt figure suddenly crashed into the front of the car. AK slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching sharply against the ground. Lu Jingshu was wearing an extremely thin grey coat, a birthday gift I had saved up for 3 months to give him 3 years ago. Now, the collar was worn down to the bare leather, his entire body was covered in white snow, his eyebrows and eyelashes frosted over, the deep scar on his right hand, visible down to the bone, had turned purplish blue in the cold wind and was trembling violently. Kai Kai, just 1 minute. He rushed to the car window, pounding on the glass with force, his voice echoing through the empty parking lot, carrying the shattered feeling of someone on the brink of death. I don't want to bother you, I've found it again. I rolled down the car window, and the cold air immediately rushed in. Lu Jingxiu, like a child offering a treasure, tremblingly took out a small red silk pouch from his chest. Because his hand was severely injured, he struggled to open it, revealing a diamond ring inside, silently lying there, covered in mud and bloodstains. It was the wedding ring that, on the cliff that day, he had accidentally thrown away while trying to save Guwen. He's already returned to that sea area. The divers searched for 3 months and found nothing, so he went down himself. On his ghostly pale face, a despicable smile bloomed. I dug it out from the crevice of the underwater rock. Kai Kai, look, it's still here, it's not lost. I looked at that ring and found it utterly ridiculous. For this worthless stone, he dared to dive to such depths, not even caring about his own half-crippled hand. Mr. Lu, nearly losing your life over a piece of trash, was it worth it? I took the red silk pouch and, right in front of him, gently let go of my hand. Plop! The ring fell into the muddy soil of the drainage ditch, instantly swallowed by the murky snowmelt. The smile on Lu Jingxiu's face instantly collapsed. He didn't even have time to think, directly kneeling on the ground, using those blood-stained hands to frantically grope in the drainage ditch, his nails scraping against the brick tiles, making a sound that set one's teeth on edge. Don't throw it away. This is what you loved most. You once said, "This is our life." He choked, unable to speak clearly, like a madman who had lost his entire world. Lu Jingxiu, that was Shenji's life, not Su Hua's. I pushed the car door open and stepped out, walking over to him in my pointed high heels, looking down from above. Do you think this emotional act of self-torment will move me now? When you were outside the operating room, transferring my attending physician away for Guwen. When you personally fed me the abortion pill, why didn't you think about my life? I bent down, suddenly grabbing his collar, pulling his once aloof and now utterly wretched face toward me. The pain you're feeling now isn't even 1/10,000th of the pain I endured back then. You destroyed your right hand. I'll make you watch me walk the red carpet arm in arm with someone else. You jumped into the sea searching for a ring. I'll make you watch me personally destroy all your pride. I let go, and Lu Jingxiu fell wretchedly into the mud puddle at that moment. A glossy red sports car sped into the parking lot. The new film emperor, Lin Yu, jumped out of the car and wrapped his arm around my waist with a radiant smile. Sis. The evening party is about to start. As for this kind of lowlife blocking the way, just leave it to the security to handle. Lin Yu, youthful and unrestrained, looked at Lu Jingxiu with the contemptuous gaze of someone in a superior position. Lu Jingxiu stared fixedly at Lin Yu's hand resting on my waist. In that moment, his eyes turned so red it seemed they might bleed. He tried to stand up, but exhausted, he collapsed into a puddle of snow. Kai Kai, don't let him touch you, I beg you. He lay sprawled on the ground, pleading pitifully, his voice drowned out by the roar of the luxury car's engine. Mr. Lu, face reality. I got into Lin Yu's car, taking one last look in the rearview mirror. To me, you're not even worth a pile of snow by the roadside. Once the snow melts, nothing remains. The supercar roared out of the garage, leaving behind the man kneeling in the snow, frantically searching through the mud with his bare hands for the ring. Lu Jingxiu. The hands he was most proud of were now crippled. The self-respect he valued most was shattered. Every day that follows, I will make sure you stay sober and witness, step by step, how I become a dazzling god you can never reach. As for you, you only deserve to cling to those moldy memories in the darkness, slowly rotting away. The day the giant logo on top of the Lu Group building was dismantled, the wind in the capital blew fiercely. I stood on the top floor of the building opposite, binoculars in hand, silently watching the gilded plaque, symbolizing the century-old glory of the Lu family being severed by a cutting machine. Amid the shower of sparks, it crashed to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Once, Lu Jingxiu had led me to stand beneath that plaque, pointing to the dazzling lights at our feet and saying, "Shenji, this will be your home from now on." Looking back now, it wasn't a home, but an exquisite cage that imprisoned me for 3 years. President Su, the bankruptcy liquidation of the Liu family has entered its final stage. AK walked in, presenting a file with a somewhat strange expression. Liu Jingshu has declined the severance package offered by the Su family. He sold the last old villa under his name and donated all the proceeds to the Warm Sunshine Fund, the charity organization dedicated to aiding single mothers and orphans, established in your name. My fingers paused slightly as I turned the page, then let out a contemptuous snort. Trying to buy spiritual comfort with money, the debt he owes. The money from that old house isn't even enough to cover the interest. Also, he's currently working as a set assistant at the Hongjian studio of Ji Yuan, doing the hardest jobs. I heard his right hand is injured, he can't lift heavy things, and is often ostracized by the film crew. AK added in a low voice, "Let him be." I folded the documents, my eyes cold and indifferent. Notify the film crews, no need for special treatment, and no need to deliberately suppress him, if he wants to experience life at the bottom. Let him see clearly what Shinji endured back then, how she was forced to drink and humiliated by those directors at the banquet just to help him secure funding. At 2 in the afternoon, the media restructuring press conference for Ji Yuan was held in the Grand Hall on the first floor of the old Lu Corporation building. I wore a sharply tailored white suit, like a sharp sword just unsheathed, and entered the hall surrounded by people. All the media held their breath, and the shareholders who once mocked me as unworthy of the position now bowed their heads, not daring to breathe heavily. President Su, what are your thoughts on the Liu family's change of ownership? President Su, I heard that the former head of the Liu family is now working for you. Is this your way of seeking revenge? I paused, facing the countless camera flashes, and elegantly adjusted the ruby earring on my ear. My thoughts, I'm simply helping the Beijing business community clean up some garbage that embezzles public funds and condones crime. As for Mr. Liu, I glanced toward the corner of the Grand Hall, where a gaunt figure was pushing a cleaning cart. Liu Jingxiu was wearing a faded gray work uniform, the brim of his cap pulled low, yet it couldn't conceal the once arrogant and self-assured demeanor that had now completely crumbled. He was bent over, wiping dust off a marble pillar, his right hand wrapped in an old bandage trembling slightly from the effort. Hearing my voice, his entire body stiffened, and he slowly raised his head through the bustling crowd, through countless camera lenses. His bloodshot eyes met my cold gaze. He opened his mouth, as if wanting to call my name, but upon realizing his lowly status, he fearfully lowered his head again. Tightening the rag in his hand, he's just using his labor to repay the life debt he owes. I withdrew my gaze, my tone as calm as if discussing the air. Dismissed, I stepped into the private elevator, and just as the doors were about to close, I saw Liu Jingtu throw down the cleaning cloth, ignoring the security guard's attempts to stop him, and frantically rush forward. Kai, just one look, he was pinned to the ground by the bodyguard, half his face pressed against the cold tiles. But his eyes never left me in the elevator. He pulled from his pocket a worn-out engagement ring box. So faded the lettering was barely visible, the promise he made to me 3 years ago. At the same time, with a sharp shush sound, the automatic paper shredder next to the elevator swallowed a report about his handling, the noise crisp and cruel, like a final blow to his dignity. Mr. Liu, face reality. AK blocked the doorway, looking down at him from above. Right now, you don't even have the right to approach CEO Su's elevator. The elevator slowly ascended, Liu Jingtu's screams disappearing behind the steel door. That night, I reclaimed all the real estate of the Shen family, including the marital home I once regarded as a treasure. I had people clear out all the belongings inside, leaving only a great fire that reduced to ashes all the curtains and bed sheets that still carried Ji Yuan's lingering scent, along with the study desk Liu Jingtu once used. The flames dyed half the mountain red. I stood at the foot of the mountain, watching the house that held 3 years of humiliation collapse in a sea of fire. The relatives who once mocked and humiliated me were now kneeling outside the blaze, weeping bitterly and begging me to give them a way out. The path of life is walked by oneself. I closed the car window, no longer looking at that spectacular scene of destruction. Back to the company. The Liu family's signboard was gone, Liu Jingshu's spirit had been shattered, and even the bridal chamber had turned to scorched earth. Now, apart from an irredeemable sinful body and a heart filled with useless remorse, he had nothing left, and this was only the beginning of the nightmare that would haunt the rest of his life. The winter night in Hengjian was so cold it felt as if it could crack the very marrow of one's bones. Lu Jingxiu huddled in the cheapest single room of the film crew, a makeshift house converted from a container, with old newspapers stuffed into the drafty window gaps. His crippled right hand ached in the cold, gloomy weather, as if 10,000 ants were gnawing at his severed nerves. In front of him lay an old wooden table, with no fine wine on it. Only a bowl of clear noodle soup about to congeal and a crumpled newspaper. The headline of the newspaper read, Su Group CEO Su Hua spends tens of billions to build the largest maternal and child medical rescue center in the country on the outskirts of Beijing. In memory of the ill-fated child, Lu Jingxiu stared at the 4 words ill-fated child, his eyes bloodshot as if about to bleed. With trembling hands, he fished out from his chest a yellowed ultrasound image, folded and unfolded countless times. It was something Shunji had secretly hidden under the pillow 3 years ago, which he had never glanced at until Shunji died, when he finally dug it out from a crack in the ruined bridal chamber. Sorry, he buried his face in the fragile piece of paper, letting out sobs like a trapped animal. At that moment, the plywood door was kicked open with a loud bang. Several crew members from the film set, reeking of alcohol, barged in. Leading them was a minor director who had once been personally blacklisted by Lu Jingtu for his wrongdoings, now struggling here as an assistant director. Oh, isn't this our former CEO Lu? The assistant director snatched the ultrasound report from Lu Jingtu's hand, sneering mockingly, hiding here crying, I heard you donated your last bit of family fortune just to please President Su. TSK, how touching. Give it back to me. Lu Jingtu stood up. Though his frame was gaunt, the oppressive aura deeply ingrained in his bones made the others shrink back. Give it back to you, President Su said, no special treatment needed. The assistant director in front of him tore the only ultrasound image into pieces and casually tossed them into the fire pit. Lu Jingtu, President Su is surrounded by handsome young men now. What are you, a cripple who can't even lift heavy objects, and you dare to dream of the Queen? I said give it back to me. Lu Jingtu lunged toward the fire pit like a madman, using his bare hands to fish out the burning pieces of paper. The intense, searing pain spread from his fingertips, but he felt nothing at all, only continuously calling out Shen Kai's name. Seeing this, the others landed a few more heavy punches on him until he lay flattened like mud on the damp floor from the melting snow. Early the next morning, at the Su family building, I had just taken a sip of warm black tea when AK walked in, his expression somewhat grave. President Su, Lu Jingtu has been hospitalized, in the intensive care unit, acute pneumonia with sepsis, plus a severe infection in the wound on his right hand. He paused briefly. The doctor said his will to live is very weak. He left a suicide note, specifically addressed to you. I set the teacup down, looking out the window at the dazzling winter sunlight. Suicide note. He wants to use death to make me regret. I stood up, putting on the black coat. Let's go, let's take a look. I also want to know what this cold, arrogant prince could possibly write before his death. In the hospital's private room, the strong smell of disinfectant filled the air. Lu Jingxiu lay on the pristine white hospital bed, the oxygen mask covered with a faint layer of mist. His entire body was buried deep under the blanket, almost motionless, like a withered, broken piece of wood. Hearing the sound of footsteps, he struggled to open his eyes. The moment he saw me, the light in his eyes, which had long been extinguished, suddenly flared up one last time. Kai, Chief Su, he uttered weakly, his voice like a shattered bellows. AK handed me that so-called suicide note. I didn't open it. Instead, right in front of him, I used a lighter to set one corner ablaze. Lu Jingxiu, if you want to die, I have no objection, but don't use this method to dirty my hands. I watched the flames dance. Do you think that by dying, you can meet Shinji down there? Stop dreaming. Shinji has already attained nirvana as Su Hua, while you only deserve to descend into hell and accompany Gun. Lu Jingxiu watched the letter turn to ashes, tears streaming from the corners of his eyes and soaking into his temples. You know, I don't deserve it. He struggled to lift his right arm, wrapped in bandages. the spaces between his fingers still stained with the black burns from last night when he grabbed the charcoal brazier. "I just wanted to tell you, that bowl of soup. I truly didn't know. WN said it was for you. Does it matter whether you knew or not?" I bent down, my gaze sharp as a knife. "What matters is, you chose to believe her. And abandoned me, Lu Jingxiu. There is no medicine for regret in this world, only cause and effect. The heartbreak serum injection you personally fed me not only took my child but also severed the last shred of possibility between us." I pulled a property transfer deed from my pocket and slapped it against his chest. "Here is 100,000 yuan. Consider it payment for your time as a laborer at Yuanji. Take it and get out of the capital. If you die out there, I'll have someone buy you the cheapest tombstone, with no inscription, just one word carved on it, guilty." Lu Jingxiu was sobbing uncontrollably, fresh blood staining the oxygen mask red. He tightly gripped the hem of my clothes, his pitiful, bone-deep plea making all the nurses present unable to bear looking. "Don't go, please. Look at me one more time." I forcefully pulled the hem of my clothes back, my eyes holding no hatred, only the indifference reserved for insects. "Mr. Lu, in my eyes, there has never been a person like you. There wasn't before, and there certainly won't be in the future." I walked away without looking back once as we stepped out of the hospital gate. AK asked softly, "President Su, are we really not going to take care of him anymore? Someone like him has a long life ahead," I said as I got into the car. He will live in regret and poverty, living in a nightmare where every time he closes his eyes, he sees Shinji falling into the sea. Death is too easy. I want him to live 100 years, lonely until the end of his days." The car started, leaving 2 deep tire tracks on the snowy ground. Winter in the capital was about to pass, but for Lu Jingxiu, winter had only just begun. 3 years later, New York, in a top private art gallery in Manhattan, a global charity exhibition titled Butterfly was underway. The curator was a legendary woman who had taken Wall Street and Hollywood by storm in recent years. Su Hua. At the center of the gallery hung an artwork named Breaking the Cocoon. It was a pair of butterfly wings assembled from tens of thousands of high-grade crushed diamonds, radiating an almost sharp beauty under the shimmering light. Its base was cast from molten scrap steel, said to be sourced from the sign of a collapsed building in the capital. President Su. Here is this year's financial report. The global production value of the Su Group has tripled. AK, dressed in a neat dark gray suit, his eyes filled with respect, added. Also, the final news from within the country has come through. I gently swirled the champagne glass in my hand, gazing out the window at the dazzling neon lights of Manhattan, my tone calm. Guan or Lu Jingtu, Guan, while in prison, suffered from auditory hallucinations and prolonged neurasthenia. During a yard outing, he jumped from the 2nd floor. Although he didn't die, he will spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair, unable to even speak. AK paused briefly, his voice lowering. As for Lu Jingtu, he volunteered for 3 years at the maternal support center you established. Yesterday, while cleaning the hallway outside the neonatal care unit, he suddenly suffered cardiac arrest. My hand holding the wine glass did not tremble in the slightest. Before he passed away, he was still clutching a neatly folded newspaper in his hand, the very issue of Time magazine that featured you on the cover that year. He left no last words, only 3 characters written in pencil beside your photo on that newspaper. What 3 characters? I'm sorry. Hearing this, I let out a self-mocking laugh. These 3 words are too light, as light as a speck of dust, unable even to stir the foam in my glass of wine. AK, burn that newspaper. His apology. Shinji can't hear it, and Su Hua doesn't need it either. I set down the wine glass and walked out of the exhibition hall. The red carpet stretched out beneath my feet, flanked by renowned political figures and entrepreneurs from around the world, their eyes filled with fervor and admiration as they looked at me. At that moment, a foreign reporter pushed forward, holding a microphone toward me. Ms. Su, as one of the most powerful women in the world, could you share the secret to your success? Or, in other words, what has brought you to where you are today? I stopped in my tracks, facing the countless camera flashes, recalling the icy seawater from years past, remembering Lu Jingtu kneeling in despair, and also thinking of Shunji's eyes, once as humble as specks of dust. I turned towards the camera, flashing a perfect, cold smile. The secret is very simple. Never break your own wings for anyone, because when you fall into the abyss, the one who can pull you up is never the person who pushed you down, but yourself, the one who grew claws in the darkness and fought your way back to the world of the living. The crowd erupts in enthusiastic applause. I step into the luxurious stretch limousine, the tinted windows slowly rising, isolating all the noise in the rearview mirror. The shadow once called Shinkai has completely vanished. The Suhua of today needs no one to save her, nor is she a copy of anyone anymore. She is the master of this realm of fame and fortune, the mandala flower blooming amidst the ruins, the death of Lu Jingxiu, the crippling of Guwen, all are but a handful of ashes in this magnificent prelude. The car glides smoothly forward, heading toward the boundless sea of stars, and I, in the prime of my radiant youth,